This video right here, I would like to specifically direct what I'm going to say to black people. I would like to address black people in this video. Now, the first thing I would like to say is that I understand that you as a people, black people, have had to deal with many injustices, stereotypes, racism, being unjustifiably harassed by law enforcement, unjustifiably convicted of crimes, unjustifiably killed, so on and so forth. Your people have endured a lot, a whole lot. Even to this day, you continue to endure these types of things. And I understand that. I'm fully aware and I understand that. However, what I would like you to understand is that not every time a black person is charged with a crime or convicted of a crime, or even if a black person happens to be shot and killed by an officer, that it's not always unjustified. Perhaps that person was a bank robber, or that black person killed somebody, or something to that effect. There are times, my point is that there are times in which black people do commit crimes, sometimes heinous crimes or violent crimes. And so whatever punishment they receive, it is justified. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because of the case recently with the teenager Michael Brown, the kid who was shot and killed by a police officer. Now, the investigation is still pending. No one knows exactly what happened between the confrontation between the officer and Michael Brown. But there was a video that came out in which showed was suspected to be Michael Brown in a liquor store, and he committed a strong arm robbery. He grabbed a pack of cigarettes or cigars, and he didn't just, put the cigars in his pants or his pocket or something, and quietly steal it. No, he brazenly walked out of that liquor store with the cigars. The owner of the store attempted to stop him, shoved him out of the way. No, I'm taking these cigars. And he walked on and, went about his business. Now, I see a lot of black people, like on the news and in interviews, attempting to dismiss that. Well, that has nothing to do with what happened later on, a few hours later, when he was shot and killed by a police officer. But that's not true. That's not necessarily true. Because what that video shows is, for one, that Michael Brown, at least on that day, I don't know how he was the other 364 days of the year, on that day, he was a criminal. On that day, he didn't have any regard for the laws of our land. He didn't have any regard for that person, that old man that he shoved around. He was a criminal. Michael Brown was a criminal on that day, and he was also an aggressive person. And so, even though we don't know exactly what happened on that day, when the officer says that he went to go stop Michael Brown and Michael Brown was being aggressive, it becomes more believable. We don't know 100% certain what happened, but it becomes more believable because we've already seen Michael Brown being an aggressive person. If instead that never happened, and earlier that day Michael Brown was at a local library, studying for school or getting prepared for college or something like that. And then later on he was shot and killed by this police officer. This police officer said he was being aggressive. Then people would be like, wait a minute. The Michael Brown, he never showed any acts of aggression. Even earlier that day he was being, calm and abiding by the laws of the land. So why would all of a sudden he be aggressive? The officer's testimony at that point would be hard to believe. But because we did see Michael Brown being aggressive and breaking the law, then when the officer does say something along the lines of, yeah, he was being aggressive with me, maybe attacked me, we don't know 100% for certain, but it becomes more believable. So I'm just asking you, as a people, don't be so quick to dismiss that a black person may have committed a crime. I understand that you want to come to the defense of a black person because there has been so many times where a black person was unjustifiably killed or convicted or something like that. I understand that. I fully understand that. But when there's evidence that comes out showing that person to be an aggressive person, showing that person to be a crime committer, then at least take what you hear in defense of him with a grain of salt. Be like, well, maybe Michael Brown wasn't innocent as, say, his cohorts were saying, his friends or people who were with him. Maybe he did, in fact, be aggressive with the officer. Just maybe. We don't know for certain, but at least take it in consideration instead of attempting just to dismiss it. No, Michael Brown would never do that. Well, I'm sorry, but Michael Brown did do that. He shoved around a poor little old man, an old man who was attempting to just, sell his products, make money to pay for food and clothing and whatever else for his family, or maybe just for himself to pay rent or whatever it may be. That poor store owner was just trying to mind his own business. That store owner was trying to be a lawful citizen, and Michael Brown comes in there and shoves him around. 300-pound Michael Brown comes in there, again brazenly, and says, I'm taking these cigars. Get out of my way. And he did that. So maybe, just maybe, Michael Brown isn't as innocent as you think.